smooth as can be. Look at this thing. Looks like it's running pretty smooth to me. People said that it would be bouncing all over the place. Look how smooth that is on grass. Now, definitely just like cleats in dirt, like this dirt here, it's going to be a little rougher, as you can see. Look at the tracks it's leaving. And then definitely on the sidewalk, it's going to be rough. All right, welcome back. So today we have to get the motor replaced, because the motor that's in here the shaft is bent. It sucks because this is still a 5mm shaft and not an 8mm shaft. The TP motors, when I order them with 8mm shafts, because these shafts tend not to bend. These 5mm shafts, if something gets jammed in between the spur gear and the pinion, if I get a rock in there and it tries to chew it up, a lot of the times it'll bend the shaft. Especially this, I noticed with this motor, the Spectrum motor, is that the shaft, they made it a little longer to accommodate the C-clip. So right now I have the gear flipped around and pushed out, and it's wobbling back and forth. So we're going to go ahead and strip this thing down. Now I have this 1717 censored, which we are going to, convert it over to sensor. I also want to check the data, because this is set up for an XLX2 with 8mm bullets on it, I believe. Yeah, these are the 8mm bullets. They come with the 5mm bullets, and I swapped them out to the 8mm bullets because you can get them either way. The last 1717 I had that I put in the Green Limitless giveaway, when I found the 2200 motor was bad, I went ahead and threw in a brand new 1717 into it. It had the 5mm bullets on it. So I have to make a choice whether to keep this ESC or go ahead and convert it over to the XLX2 now. So comment down below, should we switch it to the XLX2 and then I can leave the bullets alone? If I do that, there's not enough room in this location for the XLX2, which means I'll have to mount the XLX2 over here and lose this bracket, which is also the supporting bracket for the body if it flips over and lands on its roof. Now I have taken this bracket, and as you see, it's flipped over. Normally this bracket's the other way and hangs down low, like this one. This is the way the bracket's supposed to be. I flip them over and do that so I can still have the supporting bracket in there, like this, and I possibly can run the XLX2 right in here, and the fan will be butted up against this. But it might restrict airflow. So I don't know, something I'm gonna have to play with. I really like this support brace here, but God, there is so much grass from running this thing yesterday. Should have blown this thing off. I'm gonna strip everything out, get the chassis blown out. I think I have this one, I believe, is silicone down. I do think the Mamba Monster X 8S is capable of running the 100 mile an hour. It's just going to take a longer run, because the amp is going to have to really drive this thing, where the XLX2 producing 400 amps, 400, 450, some even 500 amps. I think we should be able to go 100 in a shorter field with the cleat wheels. Now, the whole running joke with the cleatus wheels, I was in RC Guys Garages Live, and I think that's when people were, because I was telling them I put cleats onto wheels, and they're like the cleat us wheels. And some people are like, Earl, you should patent this, sell them. I'm giving the ideas so people can run well into the hundreds. I don't want to build, I don't want to sell stuff. This is my hobby, something I love to do. But I feel that that those people that are stuck, like I was, with tires that are blowing, that this is going to be a resolution for it. Now, on a bigger rim, would that be better? Yes. Finding a bigger rim that's flat like this, very difficult. Most of the rims, like I told you, are two different sizes. Even like this, that are flat, same size outer and inner, you still got to grind where the lip sits against the edge, but these are the same size rims as this. Like this, you got a big rim here, and you got a tiny rim here, and that's for scale to make it look beefy, and this is for the strength. So if I could find a rim that is literally like the inside of this rim on both sides, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to bust this thing down. We're going to get the batteries out of this thing. They're long and thin, so they double stack easily in here, and it's very secure, and that's why I run these Roaring Tops. As you can see, there's a curve to these. They've seen many years of abuse, and they're still doing awesome. So just some choices to make, and that's all a motor swap. You know, you have to decide on what you're going to do. But the first thing we're going to do is get this motor out of here, because at this point this motor is no good. At this point, I think it's might be best to add some more power to it if I got to change out the motor anyway. So the whole thing with Cleat Us is putting cleats for us, for the people out there speed running. Cleat America, basically. And because Cletus McFarland is such a big popular YouTuber guy, I thought it was kind of funny using the Cleat Us. Yeah, that's just two-sided tape down. So I do want to pull data, so I'm not going to pull that off right away. But I do got to get my regulator and fan off of here. Actually, I'll leave the regulator. I set it up to where I can unplug the fan setup pretty easily. So as you see, Y splitter, those fans will come right off of there. So that I can service everything pretty easily, because I am making changes constantly, because I'm trying new things and I'm trying to make changes one at a time. It's probably one of the longest series I've ever done is this series with trying to run 100 mile an hour plus off-road. God, that gear is so far over there. And came off pretty easy. So 34, this is an XO1 gear. So mod 1, 34 tooth. My spool, which I showed you guys yesterday, is a 30 tooth. So I'm already reverse gear on this thing. I'm over 1-to-1. And with this KV, she'd be well over 100 miles an hour. This thing's just beat. Poor motor. You can hear it. Versus this one's pretty quiet. A lot more kick, Castle motor. And then some people were saying I should overdrive the front wheels because they're watching Kevin Talbert snowboard. If I want to overdrive my front, I'll just run the taller cleat on the front. Since this setup is working, I'll just run a taller cleat and that'll overdrive the front. But it went straight as an arrow, so I don't think it's something that I have to do at this point, is to overdrive the front of mine. But if it's something I have to do to try to keep it straight, which I've done with drag cars before, is overdrive the front so that I could do a hard trigger pull with it going straight in a short distance. Then at that point, I'll just I'll put taller cleats on the front to overdrive it. Everything is so compact into this setup because, believe it or not, there's not much room in a Mojave. So I think the next thing I'll do is probably blow this thing out since there's so much grass in it. And then we'll get the computer set up and we're going to go ahead and check data. So let me get all this grass out of here so that we have a cleaner working environment, and then we're going to hook up data and see what's going on. We'll be right back. Alright, so I went ahead and got this plugged into the Mojave. I'm going to head over to logging and we're going to download our data log. I did pull out the B-Link because the information on this just seems to be easier to read on the graph, probably because I'm familiar with it. I'm really concerned with ripple and how hard the wheels grip on grass and how much load it's putting on the ESC. So my ripple wasn't that bad, 1.76 throughout the whole thing. So here's our last two runs. So you'll put your cursor right up there, left click, drag it down to everything you want to see, and then that's going to zoom in on our two runs. So there's one run, there's the other run. So our last run is the one I'm concerned with, so I'm going to do it again. Left click, drag it over. I don't care about the drive back, which I can get it all in there. Well, that was me playing with the trigger right there, so we're just going to do it to there. So here's our run. You can see how short it is. The black line is our throttle. So this is our throttle. As you see, I slowly increase, crease, and then peaked off. And we peaked at 2.005, which should be maximum trigger. And I showed you guys this before. If you want to know what your trigger is, you're going to go over here to, I believe it's advanced. Full forward is 2.002 ms. So you can see I did pull full trigger right in here. This whole run, this whole time here, I was full trigger. And then our, where is it? Our current, I think the batteries were pretty low at this point. So ripple is in purple and current is green, which I believe that's the green right there. That's our current. You can see where our current peaked out, and then you can see the battery and the current coming out of the ESC has fallen off. And the maximum current I got is 172.2 amps. We're at 171.7 amps, pretty much around the peak, which this is showing that I can gear up a lot, but you got to take into account the motor is having a lot of issues. So I'm going to put on the 1717, and then we're going to do the motor calibration, and we're going to make it censored. So my ripple's only at 1.56, so I'm still good on ripple. Right here, it's only 0.44. Ripple usually comes right when you're hitting the trigger on how much the batteries can keep up. So right about here was our maximum on our ripple. As you see, ripple fell off. This is the purple. Right where pretty much our horsepower and ripple, right in there is where it crosses over. That's where the batteries are trying to support the demand as we're pulling the trigger. So you see it's a gradual climb, and then we get to maximum trigger and we hold it all through here. And as you see, power out 95%, and then we get up to 100%, and then power out slowly falls off because the batteries are falling off. Batteries just can't support it for a long period of time, and the motor's catching up with RPM, and as you notice, current going out is falling off as well because there's not much load. So right at the beginning, right over here, right before we hold full trigger, as we're pulling it up, because I pulled the trigger slowly, we hit a maximum of 172. When you pull that trigger really super hard, it's slowly gonna climb. But we were hitting 200 amps before, and now we're hitting less, and that's probably because the wheels are a little smaller. But we're going to calibrate everything. I just wanted to check ripple, and that's going to give me an idea of what to do. I'm going to go ahead and clear out our logs, adding a lot more kVs to it, so the load's going to be higher. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this one or not, but we'll find out here in a second. All right, so now that we figured out the data, I am going to test fit the motor and get the sensor wire hooked up. Get my scorch mount for my twin motor set up. Still got to order another 1717. That's going to need some heat. So I just go right down the bolt head so that we can get that heat really into that bolt to loosen up that Loctite. And then we want the wires up. See? So I'm going to just loosely set this up. See where the wires land. Yeah, see, they're in. As long as that drive shaft doesn't come apart, we should be okay right there. And our wires will reach, they just won't plug in until I change the end. And let me find a sensor wire. All right, so here's our sensor wire. All the sensor wires are usually the same. In And these motors only have them on the back. Plug in our sensor wire, and that's going to go over to this white plug. And then now what to do with the ESC? I think I'm going to leave it up to you guys. What should we do with the ESC? So comment down below. That's going to end this video. Should we put the XLX2 or should we continue with the Mamba Monster X 8S? Let me know in the comments. It's going to end today's video. Like, comment, subscribe. And should we take the shoe skateboard and put some cleats on our skateboard? That would be hilarious. But no, comment XLX2, Mamba Monster X 8S. What should I do? Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.